Have you here. Hi, Colorado Betty. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Star. Come on in. Tonight, we are going to hear from Dr. Klaper, and we've got a ton of questions already that have been submitted, and then we'll be taking your questions as well. So if you want to type in the chat at any time and let us know what your questions are, we'll take as many as we possibly can. So we're super excited to hear from him about climate control, nutrition, plant-based nutrition, some of the things that he's doing as well. So just type those in the chat as we go. And I just got a couple announcements for you as we get started here. Number one, this is the Power Your Health Q&A. We've got it every fourth Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I have to say that really slow. And this week it's the third Tuesday because of Thanksgiving in the United States. But next month, it'll be the fourth Tuesday, December 21st. And our guest is going to be Robbie Barbaro from Mastering Diabetes. So if you want to check out, they're going to send us some cool videos and extra things. I can't remember all of that. He's going to send you some extra goodies. So if you want to sign up, I'm going to pop in the chat a link here where you can sign up and make sure you're signed up for the Power Q&A. If you've already signed up for the Power Q&A, then you'll just get that stuff automatically a little bit later this month. So that's that. And then the other thing that we want to let you know is that this is brought to you by the National Health Association, which is the oldest organization in the world advocating a plant-based diet. And we are holding our annual conference in June. I know it's a little far out, but we have our annual conference coming up in June. It's really awesome. It's a 3-day conference where we come together and we bond and we get to hear from tons of amazing speakers like Dr. Klaper. So that is coming up really quickly, actually, and we've got an early bird sale going on right now. So if you register before December 1st, then you get $50 off per ticket. And those tickets sell out really fast for the live sessions. So if you want to come live, make sure that you come to the conference. We'll pop the links in here as well in just a second whenever I finish waving my hands around. But for now, I think, one more thing about the conference that I forgot to announce is that this year, Northeastern University School of Nursing is going to partner with us and help provide nursing contact hours for the conference as well. So we're super, super excited about that. So if you are a nurse, you get those nursing contact hours when you come to the conference as well. So, yep, if you've submitted your question, you're good to go, and we've got it. And if you've got any other questions, you can type them into the chat and keep telling us where you're coming from. And then I think without further ado, I'll get Mark Huberman on here and he will introduce our guest for tonight.
Thanks, Michelle. And welcome everybody back. I see in the chat that we got people from Scottsdale, Arizona, and Delaware, and Colorado, and all kinds of places are checking in. So it's great to see you all again. And tonight's guest, sometimes they say that the guest you have needs no introduction. This is truly one who's legendary in our movement, who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one. Our guest for the Power Your Health Q&A is the one, the only Dr. Michael Klaper, a legendary physician who is most famous for the phrase, "It's the food." He is one of the most gifted presenters, a true treasure of the whole food plant-based health movement. He's been on the scene. He's got his medical degree, I think, way back in 1972. And like fine wine, he's only gotten better as he has aged. So without further ado, for this month's Q&A, because it's really all about your questions, I'd like to welcome in Dr. Klaper. Dr. Klaper, welcome.
Thank you, Mark. What a lovely introduction, and welcome to all the viewers. I hope they enjoy the evening as much as I know I'm going to.
Awesome. People are in where it's cold in Colorado and other places. You're not cold today, are you?
No, I'm in Southern California, and so it's a very lovely evening here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's get right to it. We got a lot of questions for you here, and people will be submitting some in the chat, I'm sure, as we go along. So the first is really the subject of the presentation that you made at the conclusion of the 2022 conference about our perilous planet and that we're running out of time. And so we've had a number of questions about that. And I would urge everyone who's on this tonight that if you haven't seen that video, make sure you do. It's quite an education. I think it's Dr. Klaper at his best, and it's like a documentary in and of itself. So please take a look, and it's really inspiring. So the first that someone asks is about animal agriculture. When people talk about climate change, do you consider animal agriculture the leading cause of climate change? Is that what we should think? Or should we be thinking about coal? We should be thinking about, where does animal agriculture fit into this whole debate and concern about climate change?
Oh my, what a question and what an answer. And they talk about the elephant in the room, or the bull and the goat and the pig and the steer and the ducks in the room. I watched with dismay the whole climate proceedings in Glasgow and environmental concerns. And nary a word was mentioned to this overarching problem. Our diet is driving this massive industrial animal agriculture industry that is the driving force behind all our major environmental problems. The forests are being cut down to make grazing land and cropland for beef and other animals. Most water is used to irrigate corn and soybeans and alfalfa, to shovel down the gullets of animals so we can eat their flesh. Most water is polluted with pesticides and herbicides off these fodder fields, as well as manure from these vast pig and dairy operations. Oh my, the soil's eroding off these fields, and the greenhouse gases themselves, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, so much of it is up there because of our diet, because of animal agriculture. Every year on planet Earth, we cut the throats, we slaughter 80 billion living creatures, cows, pigs, chickens, etc. Every one of them breathing out carbon dioxide. Most of them are belching out methane. They're eating grains grown with ammonia fertilizers that release nitrous oxide into the air. And think of all the fossil fuels that are focused on, electric cars, etc. How much of the fossil fuels are being burned to create meat? Think of all the trucks on the road, the whole agriculture industries in those trucks, the fast food industries in those trucks, the restaurant industries in those trucks. Think of all the diesel fuel being burned to turn generators to make electricity, to keep meat cold, to run all the freezers, the slaughterhouses, the irrigation pumps. So when they just tease out, well, there's fossil fuels there, and then there's our diet there, they don't see that it's all intertwined, and our voracious appetite for ever cheaper animal flesh is driving the very destruction we're trying to overcome. And you can put solar panels on everybody's house, you can give everybody an electric car, you can phase out every coal-fired power plant, unless we change our diet. And none of this is going to make any difference. What does changing the diet have to do? Sorry for the long answer. But the flip side, the positive side, is that before we two-legged creatures overran the planet, there were 6 trillion trees on planet Earth. In the last 1,000 years, we've cut down half of them. We've cut down 3 trillion trees. Well, those trees were not only stabilizing and nourishing the soils, but they were taking carbon dioxide out of the air and turning it into solid wood. They're the best carbon capture technology ever designed. But we cut down those trees and we burned them, and those trees aren't there anymore to help us. What we need to do is change to a plant-based diet as a society, that we'll need 1/4 of the land to feed everyone a healthy plant-based diet. And on those extra 3/4 of the land we have left, let the forest come back. Nature will do it for us. You don't even have to plant it. And as the trees grow, they take carbon dioxide out of the air, they stabilize the soils, the waters run clear again. We get healthier and the planet gets healthier. It's how you reverse global warming. It's the only thing that works. And all we're being asked is to choose the bean chili instead of the beef chili, and all that implies. But for that one change, we could save the future. And that's the message I want to get across tonight and in all my talks, which is why I gave that talk at the NHA, because health is important. But if you don't have a livable planet to thrive on, doesn't matter what your cholesterol level is, and we're plundering our children's future for cheap cheeseburgers, and it really has to change. and the lights are flashing. Individual people, you want to be healthier, adopt a plant-based diet. Homo sapiens as a species, you want to survive, adopt a plant-based diet. The message is the same.
One of our viewers
So when you ask about animal agriculture, yes, it's the overarching thing, and nothing was mentioned about it.
One of our viewers asks, how do they measure greenhouse gases? What is the instrument, or what is the model that determines that?
Right. Well, we're talking largely about carbon dioxide and methane and nitrous oxide. These are easy to measure, and they look for places where the air is fairly stable. I know there's the classic measuring location on top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It's got a good stable look at the upper parts of the atmosphere. Well, nothing's very high on the surface of the planet, but there's air sampling monitors around the world, many in mountainous regions, but everywhere there's air sampling, and the chemists can easily, through a gas chromatography, measure how much.
This isn't junk science. This is real science.
No, really, and you can watch the carbon dioxide going up year after year after year. You watch the average temperature of the Earth going up year after year. The two lines track. It's got to be. They say denial is not just the name of a river in Egypt. You've got to be in complete denial to say there's no connection here. We're doing it. There has never been this much carbon dioxide for thousands and thousands of years, and back then the Earth was much warmer.
So another of our listeners, one of our members, has asked about, when you mentioned the bean burgers as opposed to the hamburgers. Are these Impossible Burgers and Beyond Meat? Do you consider this a net positive?
Oh, absolutely. It's a net positive. Are they the healthiest things for your body? No, we don't want to eat these every day. Sure, don't eat them twice a day. Don't eat meat twice a day either. No, these are treat foods. But once a month if you want to have one. But their main net positive for me, well, I don't want to breeze over it. They're free of cholesterol. We should have none of the pesticides in meats. No animals were slaughtered and kept in factory farm systems, and the soils weren't plundered, the water wasn't exploited, etc. There's a lot of pluses, but the most important thing is that they're a transition food. If they can get Joe meat and potatoes 6-pack American guy changing from a real beef burger into an Impossible Burger or one of these other ones, wonderful, bless him. He's going to be healthier for the cholesterol-free meal, but at least it gets him off that train of death that a meat-based diet is for him and the world, and gets him on the plant-based train. For that alone, they're not the bastions of health. Don't be eating this every day, but I think they have a very net positive role to play.
A couple other questions related to that. Your thoughts about free-range chicken and grass-fed beef. Is this anything better for the planet?
It really is not. And in fact, grass-fed beef are worse for the planet. How can that be? The free-range chickens, are, instead of individual cages, they're in this massive foot-long, field-long shed with millions of chickens, or hundreds of thousands of them in close quarters. There's nothing happy about a free-range chicken's life, that's for sure. It's an advertising ploy. And the grass-fed beef, this image of the cows out in the field, this is such sparse, arid Western land. You've got to let them roam over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres to produce this beefsteak. And it takes a long time. The grass is not very nourishing, where the feedlot cattle are raised and fattened and killed at about 16 months of age. You've got to let those grass-fed range animals out in the prairies there for 3 years or more, 4 years. And in every one of those years, every day they're breathing out carbon dioxide, they're belching out methane. By the time they are slaughtered, they've put more greenhouse gases into the air than the feedlot-grown beef. All the way, it's a marketing ploy that we can no longer put up with. We've used fishing up, we've used meat eating up. It's time to turn that page. It's all bankrupt, and it's going to destroy us. It
also reminds me of one of my favorite lines from The Man of La Mancha, where Sancho says, whether the rock hits the pitcher or the pitcher hits the rock, it's not good for the pitcher.
Woe to the pitcher. Exactly.
That's the same thing with this. So, along that line at the conference, and in your video that people have the opportunity to watch for free, you mentioned that some videos people should watch to educate themselves. And one of them, Wanda and I just watched, called Seaspiracy. And it was about what a hoax all of this wild-caught salmon and all of that stuff is. It was quite eye-opening. Do you agree that's a film everybody should see?
Absolutely. Cowspiracy that if you haven't seen it, you should. Asking the question, if animal agriculture is driving all this environmental destruction, why aren't the major environmental organizations saying anything about it? And it follows that thread. Seaspiracy blows apart the myth that, oh, well, sustainably caught salmon, it's wonder tuna. It says okay to eat that, and the realities of the fishing industry, everything from the destruction of sea life, trillions of animals every year, to the human trafficking, these poor people that get shanghaied onto these ships to be forced to work. It's a corrupt, deadly industry on every level, and when we're clear cutting the oceans, we're strip mining the oceans, and you see it on the screen there. Please see Seaspiracy.
From what I understand, that it's just as mercury laden and everything else to be getting into the body.
Oh, it's toxic stuff. You look at a piece of salmon on your plate, you wonder, what am I putting in my body? What is it? What fish is this fish eating that we're all full of mercury and pesticides? We've used fishing up. Time to turn that page.
So another thing. So what can we do? What can we do? What can we individually do? What do you recommend? What action can we individually take? What individual steps can we take?
Oh, absolutely. Make a move. If you are vegetarian, still eating dairy, get on with a vegan diet and lifestyle. The example you set is essential. People watch what you have for lunch. They watch what you order in the restaurant. The checkout lady at the supermarket notices what's in your basket and how good you look. This is going to be a transformation from the bottom up, from the inside out, and it's up to each one of us. Get active in your local area. You put on potlucks at your house. Do virtual Zoom potlucks if you want, but share recipes. A taste is worth 1,000 words. Send your kids to school with healthy plant-based lunches and talk to them about why it's important and how to talk to others diplomatically. You don't have to push it in their face. This is going to be a movement that succeeds out of love and truth. And so in that spirit, write your congressman. Is the farm bill coming up for approval? And are they giving more billions to the meat and dairy industries? How about subsidizing the broccoli growers? Let your congressman know that you're a plant-based person and you want them to legislate, and that you're watching, that you vote. Find out where your water comes from. Get your water tested. And are people taking care of your local water supply there? There's so much you can do. There's no time to be just a passive consumer. So do what Teddy Roosevelt says, do what you can, where you are, with what you have. And and that's where to start.
Got it. Let's get to a couple of health questions. We have a bunch of those. And I remember at the conference, at our conference last year, the first thing you said was, I don't want to hear questions about COVID. I've had enough questions about COVID, but I'm sorry, I have a COVID question.
Okay.
If we contract COVID, what should we do to improve our healing? Deep breathing, like your bronchitis cure, any special diet, maybe a water-only fast. If you get COVID, if you contract COVID, vaccinated or unvaccinated, what's Dr. Klaper say you should do?
Wow, what a beautiful question and well phrased. I'll certainly get to that, but I must say, it was heartbreaking for me as a physician to see all these thousands of people die, and how many of them were obese and with diabetes, etc. But it's like the third rail; you can't talk about that. And one of the beauties of a whole food plant-based diet is one of the benefits you get is that obesity melts away and you wind up in a leaner, healthier body. And so that alone is reason enough to get on the plant-based train here with COVID looming around. If you got those extra pounds to lose, especially if you are heavy set, this is the time to trim down lots of veggies and lots of walking. That said, what can you do? Again, fresh foods are important. Avoid, you don't want to be a junk food vegan, and stay out of restaurants as much as you can. You don't want to run a bunch of salt and sugar and fat through your bloodstream several times a day, but ever really. And it weakens our immune system. The sugars do. I won't go into the science of it, but the oils do. And don't eat anything fried. Keep that food stream as clean as you can, and really emphasize the raw veggies, man. Have that big salad every day. Scoop your hummus up with carrot sticks and celery stalks instead of crackers. Keep that raw, fresh stuff going as much as you can. Avoid the processed food, fruit juices and all that. Not your friend. Whole, fresh vegetable juices are. Use those lungs. Get out and walk every day as much as you can. I have a stationary bike in my living room, and when it's raining, I'll get on and I'll start pedaling, grab a couple of hand weights, and while I'm pedaling and doing an upper body workout, I'm moving those lungs, man, really deep in and out. Get enough sleep. The body heals when you sleep, and you can't cheat on it as much as I try to. And I get away with 4 hours. That's when the throat gets scratchy, and I know my immune system's going down. Get enough sleep. And you do start getting sick, that's the time you hit the sack. But when you're up, be active in breathing and drink enough water. You want to keep your secretions, especially in your lungs and the back of your throat, as thin as possible. And when we get dehydrated, our mucus gets thicker, and the thick mucus doesn't move, and it fosters bacterial infections. Water is life, and definitely time to employ that. So what are we doing? We're laying out the pillars of natural hygiene, aren't we? Get a whole food, plant-based diet, drink enough water, get enough rest, don't eat junky foods. Minimize the stress as much as you can in your house. I would do all those things, but in this COVID times, especially if you've contracted it, it's especially important. Would I take vitamin C or zinc? Not sure. I don't think you really need it if you're basically healthy. The jury's still out on that, as well as various pharmaceuticals that are recommended.
So
that's
somebody
another question.
just texted me, what about ivermectin?
Yeah, with the big eye was something out there.
Yeah,
It's interesting. Apparently, at Oxford University in the UK, they are doing an ivermectin study. They're doing high dose, low dose, and placebo ivermectin study. I think it's called the Principal study, and we are waiting for the results. Look up. Invite people to Google Oxford ivermectin study and see what the current findings are on there. And if it shows that yes, these people got had less hospitalizations, less mortality, etc., and it shortened the course of their disease, listen, I'm for it. We use other antivirals, tamsulosin and things with the flu, and it's not untoward to give an antiviral agent early in the infection. And if ivermectin works, I'm all for it.
but it sounds like at the end of the day, you're in the old natural hygiene school that health is built, not bought, and that you build your immunity, you don't buy it, and but if you haven't been building your immunity, there may be some intervention that you have to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you have trouble breathing, get thee to a hospital. By that time, your lungs are really loading up with fluid and inflammation. If you're struggling to get breath, go get some help.
Very good. Someone asked, Tammy just typed into the chat, what would you recommend for a whole food plant-based diet with a new cancer diagnosis? Is cancer an exception to the rule that somehow we can't benefit from? If you got cancer, or you just the C word, you're just stuck. You're out of luck.
Oh, definitely not. There's many things that it can influence the course of cancer. Again, I'm so glad she mentioned whole food plant-based diet, because folks who are not on that wavelength and standard care, whatever, they're so afraid of their loved one wasting away in that dreadful state of cachexia that can happen. They're saying, oh, we got to eat something, you got to eat, and pour in, you want meat, you want ice cream, you want calories, you want protein. Well, that's exactly the wrong thing to do. Protein, you eat a steak, and I'm concerned even about the plant-based powdered proteins. You flood your liver with these amino acids from meat or protein powders, and the liver responds by putting out a surge of this growth hormone, insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, and that gives the chemical message to cells: divide, multiply, don't die, stay in the tissues and grow. Well, that's the last thing you want if you've got a malignancy growing. And so high protein diets aren't your friend. You want the protein from lentils and beans and chickpeas, and even then a cup a day should be plenty. And the same thing with the sugars. Have an apple, have a mango, get your sweetness out of whole fruits. But don't be eating things that are obviously high fructose corn syrup gels and juices, etc. Don't flood your tissues with fructose and glucose. They're not. They don't help your immune system, say the least. Then that opens the door to fasting. Dr. Walter Longo and others have shown that cancer cells can't protect themselves during the adverse conditions in the bloodstream that get set up by a fast, the state of ketosis. And it makes the cancer cells more vulnerable to chemotherapy and radiation, etc. And so if your oncologist says you're going to get to 4 treatments of such and such chemotherapy, I tell my patients, unless there's some other reason, and your doctor's aware of the power of fasting, don't say anything to your oncologist. But go into your chemotherapy on day 2 of a water fast or day 3 of a water fast, and you're going to get more bang for the buck. Plus, you're going to have less vomiting, less side effects. You'll get through each chemo treatment better, and you'll get a better response from it. So there's things that can be done. A whole food plant-based diet does other things, and it decreases IGF-1 levels, etc. And therapeutic fasting can help as well. And there might be specific cancers may respond to other particular herbs and things on an individual basis, but that I would recommend those principles to everyone.
And I imagine that a cancer diagnosis, just like a diabetes diagnosis, all of it depends on how far along. The earlier you are, the more capacity you may have to deal with that through a whole food plant-based diet.
Absolutely.
About that?
Absolutely.
So it's not a death sentence.
It's definitely not. And people, it's turning into a chronic disease. And some of them, the leukemias, lymphomas, can live 20 years with that or longer. But I'm hearing more and more reports of people. I had breast cancer 15 years ago. They found a few spots in my liver, cleaned up my diet, my lifestyle, got a new husband, whatever. And cancer's gone. They can't find it. And this is not that rare an occurrence. Don't underestimate the power of your body, of your immune system. That said, that we create hundreds of cancer cells every day and we destroy them. Your body knows how to destroy cancer cells. So help it do that with a good headspace, a good diet, and lack of interference and from polluting substances. But be an active participant in your own therapy there and expect good things.
One of the most popular articles you ever wrote for Health Science was on bone health and your bones. So I got a bunch of questions about osteoporosis. I think the demographic of the NHA are middle-aged women, 50 to 65, in that range. But it's a big issue. And you're bombarded every day with Flossamax and all these sort of things you should do for bone health. So the question is, how can I reverse, or if I can, or at least arrest my osteoporosis?
Such an important question, and the proper terms are used. This disease can be arrested and reversed. This is not a calcium deficiency. Taking a bunch of calcium pills or drinking milk is not going to make your bones stronger. The bone substance is dissolving. The whole bone matrix is coming apart because we're not using them. And the same way that your muscles work. If you use your muscles every day, you got a physical job, your muscles are going to hypertrophy. They're going to respond to the stresses you place upon it. If you don't use your muscles, what happens? They turn into guacamole. They get weak and soft and atrophy. Well, that's what happens in your bones as well. The more you use your bones, it stimulates the bone building cells called osteoblasts in your cells. But if you stop using them, then the osteoclasts that break down old bone get active and the bone starts being dissolved from the inside. That's what osteoporosis is. It's largely disuse atrophy of the bones. We used to be physical people in the 1800s, 1900s. Lived mostly on farms. Where every day we're out. Even the women, they're out working in the garden with heavy tools and carrying buckets of soil, and the guys are out carrying loads of firewood and putting new shingles on the roofs. And we were physical beings, and our bones stayed strong even to old age. But welcome to the 21st century. Now we sit. As soon as we get up in the morning. We sit at the breakfast table. We sit. When we listen to the news, we sit as we drive to work. We sit at work. We sit when we eat at lunch. We sit coming home. We sit. And Mother Nature says, use it or lose it, including your bone strength. And our bones are dissolving from lack of use. There are other things we do that accelerate that loss, that bone loss. We drink cola drinks with phosphoric acid, which puts an acid load on. Too much salt makes your bones dissolve. Too much sugar, and just a crummy diet that doesn't have the vitamins, minerals, cofactors that all tissues need. Your muscles, your skin, your nerves. Well, bones need vitamin A, D, E, K, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium. They need the same thing that your other tissues need, and a junk food diet contributes to the bone loss. So that's what causes it. The bones get porous, and when you fall, they can break. But the good news is those bone building cells, the osteoblasts, they're still in there. And they're twiddling their little thummies waiting for you to ask them to build new bone, and they will. But you got to ask them. How do you ask them? By doing some physical work, so lifting weight, and they can be the packages that you're pulling out of the trunk of your car after shopping. I'll tell you about weight bearing in a minute there. But the daily repetition of low-grade weight bearing will wake those osteoblasts up. They spin out new bone, and bone density goes up. What's the best way to do that in the real world? I urge you to go to a lovely blog, the Better Bones blog by Dr. Shirley Brown. She sells a wonderful weighted vest that is empty but with lots of pockets and some little lead weights in it. And you put the empty vest on, pop in a couple of weights, 2 pounds, and go for a walk, 20, 30-minute walk. And if you want to do it even quicker, grab a couple of 2-pound hand weights while you're wearing the vest and go for a walk every day. But just wear it. Just put the vest on and put a t-shirt on over a sweatshirt over it. Nobody knows you're wearing it. And just wear it during the day. And every step you take, that little wow of weight goes down your spine, down your hips. And the bone building cells feel it, and they spin out new bone, and the bone starts getting stronger. And you can reverse that decay of bone density just by using the bones. It's far from hopeless. And you want to build up your muscles. So if you do fall, you bounce, but you don't shatter. And even if you've got an osteoporosis diagnosis, most people with osteoporosis never break a bone. It's get yourself stronger by using your bones, as I mentioned. So, it's not a death sentence.
But everybody wants the quick fix, and you just ticked off. Hey, we need zinc, we need vitamin D. Is supplements? Is this a cheap substitute? Or is this a real substitute? Or is this an adjunct?
Yeah, nothing is going to magically make those bones. It's not, if you eat brains, you don't get smarter. And if you eat muscles, of a cow, you don't suddenly get Popeye, muscles there. You got to use them. It's biological tissue that's responding. It takes weeks and weeks, but they do respond. One thing that I really advise. I'm sorry.
Even no matter the age, is there a point where they kind of lose their ability to regenerate, or
if you're a little old man or woman in the nursing home at age 95 and you never get out of that chair, and your bones are made of tensile strength of styrofoam, that's asking a lot, but they can always get a little stronger. Who can say that they're beyond hope? Does a multivitamin with some zinc and magnesium make sense? Sure, 3 days a week. Don't take them every day. But, it might not hurt, especially if you're an older person, trouble absorbing or trouble eating that much salad and veggies. Yeah, there's a supplement may help things move along, but it's still that physical work that makes those bones stronger.
What are your thoughts about people having DEXA scans to determine where they are? Is there value in it?
I'm getting more and more turned off by DEXA scans. It's similar to cholesterol numbers. They take on a life of their own, where you are doomed to break your hip, and people wait in anxiety over a course of a year for their next DEXA scan. If you've got one scan that says low bone density, that means get off your butt and start doing what I mentioned. Get a weighted vest, get some hand weights, walk every day for a year, and assume that the bone density is going to go up. Maybe get one more, verify it's going up, and I wouldn't get another one again. Drive yourself nuts with it. Take care of your skeleton; it'll take care of you.
Got it. All right, let's move on from osteoporosis and DEXA scans and that. Someone says, my skin is very dry. I am also oil-free. My dermatologist suggested coconut oil or jojoba oil on my skin. Are these oils safe to use, and will they, without any negative adverse impact on endothelial cells? So what do you think about these creams?
Very good, sweet question there. And kudos to the dermatologist. Got the right idea. I was afraid he's going to say, take 2 tablespoons of coconut oil every day orally. And I was like, oh no. But no, he's right. Those oils, the only real use they have is topically. And what's happening if your skin is dry, we're made of water. We're watery creatures, including your skin. And we would lose all our water to the air. We would all shrivel up and dry if we didn't have this layer of oils in our skin. And because water and oil don't mix, it's the oil layer that kind of locks in the water in our tissues. If we for whatever reason are making enough oil, too low fat in our diet, or we're washing our hands and we're showering frequently, nightly showers, the detergent take oils out of the skin. For whatever reason, modern life is making us bereft of these oils. That's where the water's going. So you want to reverse that, and there's a little timing involved there. The best way to use these topical oils is don't put them on your dry skin. Wait till you do take that evening shower, and while you're in the shower and the water's pouring over your skin and is being absorbed into your skin, when you step out of your shower, your skin is fully hydrated, full of water. That's when to put on the coconut oil lotion or the jojoba oil. Not sure the jojoba oil is, probably would work okay. I think it would be safe. But the coconut oil, you want to lock in that moisture from the shower water before it goes out into the air. So timing in life is everything. Have that coconut lotion or whatever oil-based lotion you want in the bathroom, in the shower with you, or in that room, and put it on within 5 minutes of getting out of the shower. Lock in that water, and you're going to see as the water spreads through your skin instead of going out to the air. Watch how nicely hydrating that skin appears within a day or two.
Well, another question that someone asks, is kind of interesting, about something else people put on their bodies, and that's tanning. What do you think of these tanning lotions and tanning booths?
Oh my, stay out of tanning booths for all sorts of reasons. Everything from local skin infections to cancer promotion. But there's getting to be a disturbing correlation between tanning lotions and skin cancer, especially melanomas. And as I lived in Hawaii for 11 years, and much to my dismay as a scuba diver, watched those reefs turn into the surface of the moon. The reefs are dying. Turns out that's a suntan lotion that everybody's wearing that settles down on the reef and kills the coral organisms all the way around. These are toxic substances. You want to go out in the sun and protect your skin. Then there's these lovely garments that are very light and airy, but they're sun blockers. Wear a hat. Physically keep the sun off your face if you're concerned. But 20 minutes of sun in the morning, I think, does us all good. We're so heliophobic. We're so afraid of the sun now. Get some sun on your face in the morning or the late afternoon, but don't be laying out in the sun. And if you're at the beach, do wear some sun protective garments. I think they're far safer and better than these suntan lotions.
I think we all know and everybody accepts that a whole food, plant-based diet, water fasting, all these things can help people reduce their blood pressure and their cholesterol levels and all that. I know 2 people have asked that despite going on a whole food, plant-based diet, my cholesterol and my LDL is still high. Why is that, and what can I do about it?
Such an important question. Going to be a bit of a longish answer, but I've got so many vegans with, quote, high cholesterols that I made a little video. I invite people to go to my website, drklaper.com, and see the video there called Beyond Cholesterol that deals with this question. And basically what that video says is that cholesterol is not an evil molecule. That's why your liver makes it. Your adrenals use it to make steroids. Your gonads use it to make estrogen and testosterone. Your nerve cells use it to make myelin. It's a beneficial molecule. And if you're not eating anybody else's cholesterol, if you're truly plant-based, then every cholesterol molecule in your bloodstream is there because of your liver put it there for its own reasons. Steroid synthesis, bile acid synthesis, it's got its own reasons. The question is not how high is your cholesterol. The question is how healthy are your arteries. Is that if your liver needs to keep 218 milligrams of cholesterol in your bloodstream, is that injuring your artery walls? Is that the first step to atherosclerosis, plaque formation, and all that? Realize that your cardiologist, when he or she opens the door to her waiting room, everybody sitting there, overweight, hypertensive, diabetic, clogged up, they're all eating cheeseburgers and buffalo wings. They have high cholesterols, they get heart attacks and strokes. So in the standard cardiologist's mind, Peter, you got high cholesterol, you've got the disease. But if you are a whole food plant-based eating person, if the only thing you're running through those artery walls is rice and beans and greens and fruits and vegetables, the question is, are you damaging those artery walls? Atherosclerotic plaques do not develop just because your LDL is too high. These are inflammatory lesions. These arteries are being injured. Meal after meal for the standard American diet of the bacon, the fried bacon and the fried meats and the fried high temperature vegetable oils and the high fructose corn syrup and the phosphoric acid and the cola drinks and the alcohol and the secondhand cigarette smoke. All this chemical assault that modern life inflicts upon the meat eater's arteries is what rips up the endothelial lining, allows the oxidized cholesterol from cooking the meat getting into the artery walls, setting off the plaque formation response. But if you're a whole food plant-based person, you ain't doing that to your artery walls. Your artery walls are healthy. And so when my vegan patients come with the cholesterol's at 220, the first thing I do is I measure their inflammatory markers, and these are all in the video. But don't tell me so much about their particle size and their ratios. Tell me about their oxidized cholesterol levels, and tell me about their high sensitive CRP, their phospholipase, their prostaglandin 2 levels, their myeloperoxidase. These are the markers of inflammatory changes in their artery walls. If those are all stone cold negative, they all come back sleepy low normals, then they don't have the disease of atherosclerosis. I don't care that their liver is keeping 212 milligrams of cholesterol in the artery walls. They're not going to get the disease of atherosclerosis. If there's any question,
don't consider your body on fire.
Really, this is an inflammatory fire burning in the walls of the arteries, and the vegans don't have that fire burning in their walls. So thank you, Mark. That's a good image. If there's any question, I send them over to the ultrasound department for an ultrasound of carotid arteries. If the artery walls are smooth and clean and there's no plaque formation, they don't have the disease. I don't care that their cholesterol is too high.
I would imagine, too, you're asking that same person who comes to you is, they can be whole food plant-based, but plant-based is a loose term, and that you need to scrutinize just what kind of a whole food plant-based diet they're following.
Thank you, doctor. You're absolutely right, because I've got vegans who are overweight. I got vegans with type 2 diabetes. I got vegans with big pot bellies, and I got vegans with angina who've had 2 stents. And a junk food diet will injure your arteries, as Mark is saying. Just because you're plant-based doesn't necessarily mean it's healthier. We are plant-eating hominids, man. We are meant to eat whole plant foods. And if you do that, your arteries will stay nice and happy, and you'll stay out of the clutches of the cardiologist.
We've got a bunch more questions on individual diseases, individual conditions that I think are better suited. And we'll talk at the end about how they can access plant-based telehealth people and get their individual questions asked. We'll talk about that after. I want to move in the last 15 minutes that we got to kind of a lightning round of other questions that people got here. So one of them, again, is kind of back to supplements. Someone asked, what is your current position on taking supplemental DHA? You knew this was coming.
Right. I have concerns about it at this point. I'm not 100% sure that it's benign. And in fact, I'm composing a letter to Dr. Joel Furman and going to get into a dialogue about my concerns about it. But until those are fully answered, I've got a jarred bottle of DHA in my fridge. I still can't get myself to swallow it because there are studies showing that it backs up EPA metabolism, and EPA has important work to do. And if it's piling up in the cells when you take DHA, then it's not going to where it needs to go for cell membranes and neurotransmitters, etc. And to be taking DHA every day for 20, 30 years, I'm telling someone, yes, you want to back up your EPA metabolism every day for 20 years. I'm told it will help prevent dementia. Well, I don't know if it will, and I don't know if I'm not doing this person some type of injury. And there's no question DHA makes cell membranes more permeable. And I live in South Florida where there's carcinogens in the water. Now there are PFAS molecules there. And I had a patient write me with this question saying, listen, I'm a 20-year-old guy. I've got a lowish omega-3 index. Should I take DHA for the next 40 years? He says, if I get a kidney cancer at age 50, it doesn't matter if DHA is going to keep me from dementia when I'm 90 here. So I don't know if it's a safe or reasonable thing to do. The promoters say absolutely it is. I'm not sure because of the study showing that it raises EPA levels.
But you're still looking at
So I'm holding my fire on it at this point. Let me see if Dr. Furman can clarify it. But at this point, eat your ground flax seeds and chia seeds and hemp seeds. Let your body turn that 18 carbon atom into DHA in your cells. It may not show out in your omega-3 blood index, but if it's happening in your brain cells, that's all you really need.
I've got two questions surprising to me. People asked about, I don't know why it's important, but they ask, how can we increase our serotonin naturally? Is this something that needs to be increased? Is this something we should look for?
If you Google, do a search on foods that will raise my serotonin level, you'll find that those, let's see, I think the base molecule is 5-hydroxytryptamine. I think you'd want the tryptophan containing foods, and there are various nuts and seeds. There's tables of them that contain the serotonin precursor foods is what you would search for. And there's a bunch of foods that have high precursors in them. But if your serotonin level is low, if this is really seeking a cure or treatment for depression or anxiety, then you got to get to the cause of that. And the best thing for depression is moving, is get out and take that power walk, meet your girlfriend at the gym, work up a sweat every day. That increases serotonin levels. That increases dopamine levels naturally. Eat lots of raw fruits and vegetables and get enough sleep. When people are sleep deprived and living on Starbucks coffee, serotonin levels go down. And again, those healthy, especially the legumes, foster microbes in our gut that make serotonin. And so again, a whole food plant-based diet with a good dollop of legumes and beans and peas and lentils, etc., will help you generate significant amounts of serotonin. But,
another interesting question about canned and frozen foods. Are these, if you don't have them available, or fresh foods available, or you just want to do something quick, your thoughts about canned versus frozen fruits and vegetables?
Yes, frozen is usually best. The technology's gotten really good. If they do this flash freezing, boy, you lose almost no nutrients, and the texture of the vegetables is really maintained. When you buy the bag of peas or carrots or frozen veggies, shake it so you can hear them rattling around there. If nothing shakes in there, then it likely has melted in storage and refrozen into a solid block. So as long as you can hear them shake there, frozen is probably the best. But nowadays, the canning techniques are pretty good, but make sure that it says BPA free on the can. There's a substance, BPA, bisphenol A, that is toxic, that they line the old cans with that can leach into the tomatoes, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as they're BPA free cans, they're a close second, good canned veggies at this point. So eat them. They're both better than not eating them at all.
Someone asks about fruit and too much fruit. So fruit is one of my favorite whole food plant-based food groups. Do you think there's a limit on how much fruit that one can optimally eat in a day? And what fruits do you think are best for gut health? So there's kind of two questions.
Wow, good. If your generous fruit intake is part of your whole food plant-based diet, and you're also eating the salads and the steamed veggies and the raw vegetables, etc., by all means, have at it, man. I have all the apples and mangoes and bananas. I mean, how many apples are you going to eat? 8, 12? I mean, how many? Especially if you just had, a vegetable soup and a big salad. So you can pretty much eat fruit ad lib as long as they're in their whole form.
I get that you're not a fan of being a fruitarian.
The few fruitarians that I've seen I've seen 8 or 10 folks who proudly proclaim I'm a fruitarian. I've not been overly impressed with their glowing state of health. They didn't look healthy to me, and when I looked in their mouths, I was really distressed at the severe degree of dental decay. Those sugars spawn microbes that put out acids that can really melt your teeth down. So if you are going to be eating lots of fruit, boy, you want to really use that dental floss and the brushes and keep your oral hygiene really spick and span there. The question is, will all that fruit sugar spawn yeast and other microbes in the gut? In theory, they might, and that might be one reason why they didn't look that healthy to me. I've not seen good studies done on the microbiome of fruitarians, but that's my concern is what they're spawning there, and how much fruit sugar may ferment to alcohol that rides up into the liver, and whether they run the risk of fatty livers as well. Those are my concerns, but I have not seen the science behind it. I don't know why you'd want to do that, and it's also, if you're doing it out of principle, because that's what we ate in the Garden of Eden, then you got to be true about your definition of fruit. Tomatoes are fruit, pumpkins are fruit, squash are fruit, peas are fruits. Anything that are truly the seeds of the next generation of the plant is a fruit. And so if you're going to be eating tomatoes and squash and peas, cool. If that's a part of your fruitarian diet, well, I think you do just fine in that case.
So everybody's heard what Dr. Klaper preaches. One wants to know, how does Dr. Klaper really eat? What did Dr. Klaper eat today?
Good point. Morning time, we're on the road now, but we do overnight oats. Elise put up some nice, we got some muesli at the store and we soaked it overnight, and we bought some berries and some oat milk now you can get. So I had berries with oat milk and bananas this morning over my muesli. Lunch was a big salad. We really want to get something raw in every day. And we did go to a restaurant. I got a Buddha bowl with quinoa and veggies in it. And at dinner time tonight, I'm not that hungry. I may have a piece of fruit, and then I try to be done with eating by about 7 in the evening. So that's my late eating.
So that leads us to the question about intermittent fasting. It sounds like you're almost an intermittent faster.
It's turning into that. If I get up in the morning, I'm really hungry, I eat, but often that's just a cantaloupe or something. But if I'm not hungry, I say, Klaper, you're not really hungry. What are you eating now? And I'll ride that as long as I can. I'll drink water during the morning, and if I can make it till noon, great. But if by 11 o'clock I want to eat, I will. But yes, I try to stretch out my morning fast as much as possible, left over from the nighttime hours. And by evening, yes, it's a little bit of discipline, but like Dr. Furman says, the restaurant is closed at 7 in the evening. The restaurant's closed. And I hear his words there, and I try to do that.
You think there is some physiological wisdom to intermittent fasting and ending your eating by, I know Joel Furman, when I interviewed him, he said he tries to stop eating by 6 o'clock at night and give his body a real physiological rest.
And he's right. The fasting state is a remarkable state of conservation and cellular repair. And we're fasting all night while we're sleeping. That's why the first meal is called break fast. And during those times, you're not getting into full-blown ketosis, but those early biochemical mechanisms are starting to gear up. By the morning hours, the tissue repair and the sirtuin formation and these various beneficial molecules are starting to appear. So keeping that process going for the next few hours, day after day after day, probably has a long-term beneficial effect on the body. There is a physiology rationale behind it.
By the way, you're recommending things to our listeners here and our readers. We have one of a good friend of the NHA, Glenn Merzer, is online with us tonight. I see out here. Wrote a great book called Food is Climate. If you've seen that, it's a must read for all of us.
Absolutely. Highly recommended. Beautiful job. He makes the case that it's time for the world to go vegan to save ourselves. Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, a couple of things. I guess one quick, I got to ask. I didn't want this question, but I got to ask because everybody always gets this. So I'm very confused. I've heard from another doctor about recommending that I do the keto diet.
I see no rationale for doing this. Now, going into ketosis for a few days, 3 days, 5 days, once a month, once every other month is a wonderful thing to do. I think it does help rejuvenate the body. It encourages cellular clean out. Yay, brief periods of ketosis is beneficial. And if I want to do a 3-day fast, a 5-day fast once every other month, cool. I'm all for that. But, we're Americans. If a little is good, more must be better. Well, I'll just stay in ketosis. I'll do week after week after week. I really urge not to do that. Ketosis is a state of acidosis. It's a stress on the body. It may be hard on the bones. You don't want to stay in ketosis day after day, week after week. I don't see the benefit in doing it. It could be if you have, a cancer diagnosis, would a couple of weeks of ketosis help? In those rare conditions, I'm not closing the door completely on it. But to say everybody ought to be in ketosis all the time is just metabolically insane to me. And there's no real reason to do that. So I urge against it. Yeah.
Klaper, I indicated that I have a lot of questions that I did not ask about people with specific medical conditions that they would like the wisdom of Dr. Klaper or a plant-based lifestyle medicine physician. And I know that you're part of plant-based, you're part of a growing website and service called Plant-Based Telehealth. In the fall 2021 issue of Health Science that just came out, it's a wonderful thing. Our feature interviews with Dr. Lori Marbus, who's one of the founders of that, along with you. Tell us what plant-based telehealth is, how our listeners, our readers can access it, and how they can reach you.
Excellent, thank you. Sign of the times, 21st century. It's one of the strange gifts from the COVID virus pandemic is it's caused the upwelling of telemedicine, and since plant-based living and diets are such a key component of getting people truly healthy, it was inevitable that these two powerful forces merged. And bless Dr. Lori Marbus and her colleagues for starting plantbasedtelehealth.com. And I'm one of the staff physicians at plantbasedtelehealth.com. And there are 9 physicians. We have medical licenses in all 50 states. If you want a plant-based doctor who will not scold you for when you tell them you're a vegan, we'll cheer you on. go to plantbasedtelehealth.com and open a portal there and arrange an appointment with one of us. I've got medical licenses in California, Hawaii, New York, and Florida. If you're in those 4 states, I can see you as a patient. If you just want to ask me a question, go to my website, drklaper.com, and you'll find a way to contact me there.
When you say you can really see them, as they can really see you as
absolutely. This is real medicine. We order lab tests, we prescribe medications. This is real medicine, but it's telemedicine. We can't feel your abdomen, but I'll have you lay down and feel your own abdomen and you'll tell me where it's sore there. There's ways you can really augment telemedicine.
Dr. Marbas said one of the great services that you provide, or one of the most frequent things you provide, is giving a second opinion. When people get a diagnosis of this condition, this is what I should do. You're tailor-made to give a second opinion on those sort of things.
That's from the plant-based viewing, and that alone is extremely valuable. So yes, it's a very wonderful service.
Plantbasedmedicine.com.
Plant-based telehealth.
Plantbasedtelehealth.com.
Right.
And we'll put that in the chat as well so that people can see it. But again, I'll give another plug, the fall 2021 issue of Health Science that just came out, which is available on our website for people that become a member. You'll read this marvelous interview with Dr. Marbas, who herself is a remarkable story, what she's achieved in her career. But the service that she and Anthony Masiello and that you guys have put together is really valuable for our people. It can be a lonely world out there.
Absolutely. While we're just to return the favor of the plug here, everyone who's listening, the NHA has this wonderful conference coming up next year in June, I think. And please attend. All the stars are going to be there from the plant-based world. And there's such great information, such camaraderie there. So I urge you all, join us at the NHA in June. I'm trying to get there if I can clear my schedule. I've got a prior commitment there. I'll see if I can get there. But believe me, everyone's going to be there. Is worth seeing. So,
and I think you agree. It's a lovely hotel, and the food is
food is good. I'll tell you, I was there this year.
You can live stream it, but you can't eat the split pea soup when you
Fair enough.
Salad bar. So that's great. Well, I appreciate that, Dr. Klaper. Again, and the last thing I want to ask you about, because this is what's most near and dear to your heart, is moving medicine forward. So tell me what that's all about and how people can support that effort and support you and that cause.
Thank you. I've been a physician almost 50 years. I've just turned 74, if people are wondering how old I am. And then looking in the next 10 or 20 years of my career, what else? There's nothing more important for me to do than to reach the young medical students who get totally cordoned off from the importance of what their patients are eating as the cause of their diseases. I need to reach the young medical students and turn the plant-based light on before pharmacosclerosis sets into their brains. And so I've been going to the medical schools and giving them the lecture I wish someone had given me 50 years ago, that it's the food your patients are eating is why they're sitting in front of you, overweight, diabetic, hypertensive, clogged up, and inflamed. Get them on a plant-based diet and you'll see your patients get healthy. To get that message out, we've started the initiative Moving Medicine Forward. I'm giving that lecture now across the country via Zoom. I was just at Yale 2 weeks ago. I was at the University of Buffalo, University of Washington, Seattle, UC San Diego. I'm hopscotching around the country. If you have a medical student or a faculty member at a medical school who'd like me to come in and via Zoom, I'll be glad to do that. Write me on my website at Moving Medicine Forward. If you'd like to donate and help us, it's tax deductible. We could sure use the help. We're employing people to reach out to the med students.
I gather reaching them when they're young is when they're new and they're before money and their indoctrination gets them. That's when you got to reach them.
Exactly. So we're trying to do that and move medicine forward to make plant-based nutrition of course, where people should be eating a plant-based diet. Those are the words you want to hear coming out of these young doctors' lips.
So is it movingmedicineforward.com or drklaper.com or both?
drklaper.com. It's all spelled out, DOCTORKLAPER.com. I'm sure you'll put the link at the bottom there.
Got it. So where is Dr. Klaper next? Where can people see you live?
Live, let's see. We're going up to New York for the Whole Food Expo, and I guess live will be next spring at if it comes off, at Rip Esselstyn's Engine 2 immersion in Black Mountain, North Carolina, near Asheville.
World's in a funny place right now. We're hoping that we can keep live.
Indeed.
What we want to do. Well, Dr. Klaper, you are, as I said earlier, you're a treasure to us, an inspiration for all. And it's great that you've taken the time for us. It was such a privilege that you were at our conference last year, and a greater privilege that you write for our magazine, and that we've been friends for a very long time. So it's really an honor to have you here tonight. Thanks so much. And give my best to Elise. Give our best to Elise.
Will do. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone there. Be happy, be safe.
She is an equal treasure. Elise
she is.
Treasure.
She absolutely is. Don't I know it?
Well, thank you, Dr. Klaper.
Okay. Thank you, all of you. Be well.
So again, just a couple of things. Dr. Klaper mentioned our 2022 NHA conference will be June 24th to the 26th at the same beautiful Embassy Suites. You can go to healthscience.org and take advantage of the early bird special, save $50 like Dr. Klaper said. Again, we do plan to offer a live stream of it, but and we had over 700 people did that last year from all over the world, but it's no substitute for being in the community and having that sense of community of being part of our conference. And I think of all the things we do well in the NHA, I think we put out a great magazine, but we put on an even greater conference. So if you've never done one, my late great father used to say that when you come to these conferences, it recharges your battery. And we all need that. It really is inspiring to do that, be with like-minded people. So I hope you do that. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle, because it can talk to us about next month's Power Your Health Q&A. Dr. Klaper, thanks so much.
Here I am. Yeah, so thank you so much. We enjoyed this Q&A with Dr. Klaper, and I saw all the comments. You guys were really enjoying it, and we just love that you were here with us. So next month, it is December 21. Robbie Barbero is going to come. He has an amazing book. They have a wonderful program using the plant-based diet to reverse to master diabetes, to reverse type 2 diabetes, and help people manage their type 1 diabetes better. So he's going to give us some really great resources as well. So if you aren't signed up for the Power Your Health Q&A to get the reminder emails, then I included the link over here. I'll add it one more time, and you can sign up for those reminders. If you got the reminders for this one, then you're all signed up for that one, and you'll get reminders and access to those resources. So thank you so much for coming and participating. We really, really appreciate you being here, and you're the reason we're here. So come back next time, invite your friends, and we will see you guys soon.